The UN has put out a new damning report taking aim at Canada's temporary foreign worker program. It calls it a breeding ground for modern slavery. And I want to turn now to someone who represents some of Canada's temporary foreign workers and has heard firsthand of the conditions they face. Aimee Beboso is the chairperson of Migrante Ottawa, an organization that fights for the rights of Filipino migrant workers in the city. And she's joining us now from Ottawa. Good evening. Thank you for being with us, Aimee.
Magandang gabi po, Chris, and thank you for having me.
And so I know we got a lot of these details, like Albert was just saying there, a year ago. But now that this report is out, this final report, what was your reaction to it?
It's not a surprise. First of all, it's actually a delayed reaction. The report was made in 2023, and now it's 2024. So, and you know, the UN rapporteur's set of recommendations is spot on. It's a reflection also of our longtime calls as Migrante Ottawa, and we're a part of a national organization called Migrante Canada, and it's spot on. Those are calls that we've been asking for changes before COVID, during COVID, and until now.
Nearly a decade ago, I covered a story about a bunch of Tamil migrants who were working in a Scarborough basement, and the conditions that they were facing were just deplorable, the way that they were described to us in that reporting. That's just one anecdote that I can share, but I'm curious, from your perspective, what sort of conditions have you seen some migrant workers here in Canada living through?
Well, a majority of our members in Migrante Ottawa are care workers. And what we've heard throughout the years is, you know, there's no monitoring inside the home, and when you're doing private care in someone's home for children, for the elderly, and for persons with disabilities. So therefore, if an employer does not follow what they've agreed in a contract, will not get deported, because the employee, as well as a temporary worker here, is threatened by deportation. There's also unpaid work, unpaid overtime, and also sexual harassment.
Given how difficult these conditions are that you just outlined there, walk us through some of the reasons why workers continue to choose to apply to work here in Canada.
Because of the possibility of accessing to permanent residency that could lead to citizenship. You know, as you know, in the Philippines, there's really no decent jobs as well, and so and Filipinos are very family oriented. They would support their families in the Philippines all throughout. So they make sacrifices to work everywhere else in the world, because there's no decent jobs, well-paying jobs that would support their family. So they will continue, and Canada is known in the world, or is known to be respecting of human rights, is multicultural. So it's an attractive country for migrant workers, including Filipinos.
Now, the federal government, we know, is considering blocking applications to this program. What are some of the consequences if that were to happen?
Well, they will just go elsewhere, because again, there's no industrialized decent industries that can employ, which is the responsibility of the Philippine government, for sure. But also, we have a responsibility that when workers arrive here, that we respect their rights and welfare, regardless of their status, access to services, because they contribute to this economy. So if they stop. Also, who are going to do those jobs? Those jobs need to be done, right? So, and also, if it's not Filipinos, it will be another set of members of our community. So what we have to really do is that, and I want to highlight that we don't want to pit workers against each other because of their status. Work for us. With Migrante, a worker is a worker regardless of status, and therefore should be afforded rights and protection in Canada.
I mean, that's such an important point. Thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Magandang gabi.
Aimee Beboso is the chairperson for Migrante Ottawa.